Raise your hand if you identify as a feminist. Hi, my name is Seher, and feminism to me means freedom for women, freedom to be yourself, freedom to define feminism for yourself, freedom to exist, and the freedom to just be yourself.
Feminism, as having a boy child and a girl child, I think feminism for me is really about reclaiming our divine, sacred, feminine power.
Salam, my name is Mayorka. I became Muslim 4 years ago. Alhamdulillah, great decision. And I think feminism to me is sort of this sense of unity, understanding, advocacy for all women, and a sense of community that builds justice and encourages solidarity. Honestly, I think the thing that really made Islam in general appeal to me was like the emphasis on women's rights and how like incredibly like intelligent, articulate, powerful, and just like confident so many Muslim women I was beginning to meet were like in the beginning of my like experience learning more about the religion.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Khadija. So for me, like the little that I get from feminism is that I know that both men and women have their place, and as a Muslim woman that both men and women have their place, but unfortunately most of the time women tend to be the ones doing their responsibility, like so much more is expected from women, and I think that is why the debate is always heated.
Hi, I'm Zahra. For feminism, what it means to me is as simple as just like uplifting women in whatever capacity it is, making sure that women have all the possibilities to exceed to the max. And I think whatever action we can take to make that possible for any woman, that is feminism.
Assalamualaikum guys, my name is Shahla Shahnawaz. When I think of the word feminism, to me it has a negative connotation. To me it means unconditionally equal to men. That's what I associate feminism with. However, my own definition to feminism is I see Muslims, females, generally everyone as just a female or the feminine energy as healers, creators, space holders for safety. I think one of the things that we struggle within our community is the lack of education, lack of not the Western education, but what Islam teaches us, what woman is, how empowered we are, and our space that we need. Growing up in Bahrain, I knew women who were lawyers, doctors, engineers. We all, as men and women, were working on our careers, growing up from middle school to high school. I went to a high school that was mainly Arabs, but I went and studied I went to a very American diploma, IB curriculum high school. So I didn't even know the way West pictures Muslims back, or Middle Easterns, because for me, we were more Western than when I came here.
To add to what she was saying, I would just say that I think most of the time we forget Islam before colonialism and Islam after colonialism, like is totally, to a certain extent, very different. We used to have like the first scholar in Islam is Aisha radiallahu anha. Then we have someone like Fatima Fakhri who built the first university. Then how did we go from that to the extent where now we don't even have space for women in the masjid? And I'm like, so much of our society is run by women. Even MSAs, I've been a president of MSA. I know that women do so much work. It's not recognized. And even in our homes, like parents will spend more time, let's say, raising their daughters than they spend time raising their sons. But they forget that men and women shouldn't be a competition. Everyone has their space and both are extremely important. So if you can find that balance, Like instead of hating, like let's say anytime I hear the word feminism, I'm like taken back because the culture I came from, like the moment you say feminism, nobody wants to hear anything else you have to say. That's Western is evil. But then at the end of the day, a lot of feminism is actually Islam, especially the first wave. I don't know about the second wave, but a lot of the first wave feminism is actually the right that Allah gave women.
I think to bring that back also to like the or most modern day Muslims, right? And can't speak for anyone else, but like being first generation, it's so difficult because a lot of the challenges we face here, living here and bringing our cultures with us is kind of like the disconnect of like what was culture and what was religion and how it came here and now what we're making of it here and how we as women are supposed to respond to it and what parts of it are we supposed to respond to and how much of ourselves do we keep here and then how much of religion versus culture are we like bringing into now this new modern Muslimah, right, that's being created, who's also holding on to religion, trying to pick what parts of culture actually apply and what are like toxic and not real, and then also trying to be here and just be yourself. Although I'm Pakistani, my parents are Pakistani, born and raised, and I've been to Pakistan many, many times, I was able to kind of differentiate culture because I was so immersed in New York culture. So I was able to differentiate and take the parts of my culture that I wanted. And then also like once I got older, I was able to relearn Islam through myself. Like when you read the text, you bring yourself to it.
Ultimately, for white superior culture to be in place, we have to have the brown, black, indigenous people as inferior. And so that's just male to male equal gender patriarchy. And then we look at now women where that intersectionality of now we have the inferiority according to the colonizers of not only race or religion, but also of our sex. And so the woman's body ultimately becomes like the site where these battles are being fought. And so, you know, the irony is that, again, in our culture, as my sisters have been saying, we talk about in Islam, feminism and the idea of uplifting and giving power to our women, that's inherently part of our religion. And in fact, it's part of our language as in Arabic. Feminism, it really has to do with, again, you know, at its core, it has to do with power. Bodily autonomy, the power of how we dress and choose to express ourselves in different spaces. When a Muslim woman wears hijab, she's creating space. She's choosing that even out in public, that her body becomes her own sacred space. When I wear my hijab in Muslim spaces, I'm creating a space of worship. I'm carrying my own space of worship. And so understanding these stories and these backstories, these education, this is my passion, this is what I like to do, this is what I like to share with my community.
Especially with like social media, we can see that there are so many everyone knows what is it called the haram police, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like every hijabi TikToker knows the experience of having the haram police in your comments. So it's just like, yeah, there is more acceptance when it comes to seeing Muslim women in media, and that is feminist in its own because we're giving Muslim women the right to speak their experiences. But then there are these problems that come up of like, okay, everyone's personal opinions are coming in of like, what is the hijab, what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, and then all of that burden goes on the shoulders of us hijabis. Now that I see that with hijab, like we're leaning towards more of like a representation that's for the sake of lifestyle more than religion and our deen, I'm a little concerned about that. I think it's important that we also highlight the narratives of a lot of Muslim women who wear it as an ibadah, and they wear it for the sake of Allah. Rather than it becoming a lifestyle. I can see that a lot in like the fashion industry, which I'm very interested in. Hijab and modesty, like was earlier mentioned, is like it's becoming we're a commodity essentially to the U.S. because of capitalism. So they see our hijab and they see our modesty as a way to make money out of us.
I agree. I don't think it is something that is as clear. It depends on how you look at it. Certain areas I think we are progressing, but there are certain areas too. Because I was telling her like. Earlier this year I was in Istanbul, and if you ask me what I love about Istanbul, it's like any masjid you enter, there's a space for women to pray and you don't feel like anybody's watching you. And then you come to a city like New York, you know, like you're a girl, you you have your life, you cannot stay at home 24/7. You want to go out and feel like, sometimes I want to go to a masjid, use the bathroom and pray. Then you have in our communities people who still don't even feel comfortable with a woman inside of a masjid. I don't see that as progress, because the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's like, don't stop women from going to the masjid. And there are men who will try to police you, telling you that, oh, it's better for you to pray in your house. And I'm like, it's better for you to pray at the haram. If you pray at the haram, you have like 100, how many? It's like 100,000 more than praying in your masjid. Why are you not praying there? So sometimes it's just like people feeling like they have power over you. And even if there's a space for you in the masjid, because in America, like, a masjid is more than just a masjid. It's a community center. It's where you come and meet people. But then go to every masjid, almost every masjid in New York. If women are lucky to have a space, it's in a basement. There is no light. And if you're somebody like me who loves light, you're not comfortable. You come in, somebody's always questioning how you are dressed. Your space is next to a bathroom or like a shelf with old shoes and stuff. It's just not the same. So all those things are not things that are taking us forward.
I had a personal experience where I matched with someone on a dating app, and they were Western, and they were just like, hey, there's a movement going on in Iran. Why don't you take off your hijab in support of them? And I'm like, I am 100% supportive of what's going on, but I'm also 100% supportive of what's going on in France. But that doesn't mean I have to take my hijab off in order to support them. You can agree, but nothing should be forced.
Yes, in Islam you cannot force people to dress a certain way. And that's why I love America in a way, because I know that here, regardless of what happened, I love being a Muslim here. Like, I wore hijab because I love wearing my hijab, because it's my religion, it came from my heart. If tomorrow I wake up and remove this, nobody will tell me anything. So, and I think that is a power that most of the time people should have. It shouldn't be like the government and men forcing women to wear, because worship is from the heart.
I think being a Muslim woman is like amazing, just because you are not influenced by society. You know who you are, you know what path you're supposed to take, and that stability is extremely important.
That's a really huge question, of course. But I think in so many ways, like being in America, I think that as an individual, it's like the capitalist epicenter of the world. Like women are treated like regardless, like as a commodity and as like a means of capital in all kinds of ways. Like for Muslim women, like the hijab is like, it can, like we talked briefly about like hijab as like a lifestyle and like as a means for like the attachment to consumer products, like whereas, people will say like, the hijab is a reflection of your heart. It's an externalization of a feeling that you have and a conviction and a belief that you have. You see so much in like news and media just growing up that I was always sort of like interested in learning about religions from around the world. Like I've always been like a really globally minded person. Like I've always been really interested in like foreign languages and learning about different cultures. And New York is already such like a diverse place. But I think that like really taking the time to like not only like read the Quran once, because there's so many translations, there's so many like you'll have translations that like will have footnotes that provide historical context and ones that are poorly translated that don't. And so I think reading through sections about women, like there's literally a whole surah like for women, it made me see a new perspective. And then I think that perspective needs to be complemented by like interacting in community spaces. So alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity to do that, and that was like really great, and I felt very comfortable.
I believe that what the Western idea of feminism is, like I mentioned earlier, is being unconditionally equal to men. And Islam is very different. Islam teaches women that you are created as a whole different being with different responsibilities, with different functions. And I think we have kind of in the West trying to be equal, wanting why are we looking at something else and trying to be equal to something that is different from us? And that is never possible. In my eyes, we have a very different role in a society, a very different function in a society. Yes, we can choose to be, in my own eyes, we are much more superior to men. We have the ability to do much more than men. And I think throughout history, men have realized that, and they have kind of played around it so that we do not take over.
I'm laughing because I agree women are amazing, mashallah, but I don't think they're greater than men. I think we are all good, inshallah, we just have our different responsibilities. So I personally don't believe in equality, I believe in equity. Because women, the way Allah creates men and women is different. Everyone has their own part, and the prayer is for everyone to play their own part. But so far, what we have been seeing in the Muslim world, most of the time, women do most of it. Is you as a woman are expected to be both a man and a woman. Because most of the time you are expected to pay bills because it's so expensive for one person, let's say the man, to pay all the bills. So you are a woman, are expected to go and work. They don't say it likely, but this is happening. There are thousands of women sharing bills with a man. And in Islam, it's the man's responsibility to pay all the bills in the house. But women are expected to, let's say, add on to that. But at the end of the day, they will tell you this is America. But when it comes to something that is not farad, by the way, which will be controversial, because cooking for your husband is not farad. But then try telling any Senegambian man to cook. They'll be like, you are too American. I'm not too American when I share bills, which is my farad, by the way, not to share. And it is like you are too American when you ask a man to help. So you as a woman are both paying bills and cooking and cleaning. So you are being both a man and a woman. So the thing is, I don't believe in equality, I believe in equity.
You know, thinking about the trajectory for Western, for the Judeo-Catholic women, they're coming from their fight to be able to shed their clothing. They come from that Catholic guilt where they were all originally covered and then they wanted to shed their clothing. So coming to the 70s and, flower power and wanting to burn the bra. So their idea of the empowerment was to shed all of their clothing. The idea of empowerment of wanting to be equal in the workplace, capitalism, colonialism, all of it, right? So for that, their idea is like, we want to be equal in the workplace. We want to be able to work just as hard and have access to all the same jobs as men. And so now, fast forward talking about motherhood as part of, what we believe is, that this is part of our gifts. Then we're looking at a country here in America where, are we like one of only two, maybe, industrialized countries in the world that we don't have proper maternity leave for women, right? So is this the feminism that you're presenting me with? So I'm gonna have to say that's a hard pass. I remember, for me over the years when people are asking me which feminist follower, which feminist writers, what's a good book list, and I'm like, Huda Sha'rawi, Noel Saadawi, Amina Oudud. Like I'm thinking about a whole different canon for where I look for my inspiration and for a journey and a trajectory and a culture that, that I can relate to.